Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Sports Talk Philadelphia here on LaSalle TV. As you can see there on the bottom of the screen, I am your host, Tyler Harper. Happy to be joining you for Week 5 of Sports Talk Philadelphia already. Man, time is flying already on the LaSalle TV season, especially for here at Sports Talk Philadelphia. But enough about yammering and how fast the year is going. Let's talk about my panel. Let's talk about Anthony Fleet, who hopefully is in a little happier mood this week now that the Eagles got the W. We've got Jordan Green, and down on the end we, of course, have Zach Ranitzky, as we have some Flyers to talk about, so that's going to make Zach really happy. But, of course, we've got to start with the Birds. And why not? Because they got the win this week against New Orleans Saints, a much-needed win at home against New Orleans. Let's take a look there on your screen. You see the Birds winning very decisively, 39-17. Josh Huff with 4 catches, 78 yards, and a touchdown where I'm sure he's thankful that the two defenders ran into each other. And then the Eagles defense, 5 sacks, an interception, and 3 fumble recoveries. Obviously, this is a big statement game. This was very needed. Both teams coming in 1-3, both teams needing to get a jump on their season. The Eagles are able to get the W. So Fleet, obviously, anyone was going to tell you that this is a must-win game, because when you're 1-3, basically every game becomes a must-win game. But how important was it to not only win, but to win decisively against an all-pro quarterback like Drew Brees?
It was important, and just to follow up with your comment, I'm not as upset as I was last week.
Yay!
So we have that going for us. But a couple of observations. First of all, as you said, it was a nice win to be able to win by 3 touchdowns. The first thing was the fact that they were wearing their green jerseys. That makes them 2 for 2 now, wearing their green jerseys. And one thing that really grinds my gears as an Eagles fan is when they wear their white jerseys at home. I'd much rather see them in their green jerseys. And so anyway, that's not really football related. To get to the football points, the Saints, they're a really bad team. So you really have to capitalize on when you play against bad teams. You saw the amount of mistakes that they made with the 4 turnovers. And just as far as the 2 guys colliding into each other, they're just not a very good football team. For the Eagles, though, they did a lot of things well. I really liked the defense, how they were able to force the turnovers. And I really like Chip Kelly's aggression as far as the play calling. Although he was unsuccessful, he went for it on 4th down twice. So I like the aggression. And maybe that has something to do with the struggles of Caleb Sturgis. But nonetheless, they were aggressive, they were efficient offensively, and they were able to put a lot of points on the board.
Jordan, how about you?
See, the sad thing is going into this game, I wasn't sure who was the worst team, which was the worst team between New Orleans and the Eagles, but
hey, I picked New Orleans.
A win is a win. I'll take it any day of the week. And guess what? This is probably the most well-rounded game they've played as a team. Special teams, defense, offense. They played a complete game for the most part. Were they perfect? No, but we know they're not a perfect team. When you're climbing when you're trying to get back to 500 and above that, you'll take it. Josh Huff finally arrived to the party. I've kind of been waiting for one of the receivers to get going since they all seem to drop everything. But, you'll take it. You'll take it. This team needs all the help they can get moving forward, and it was a convincing win. It's fine. It's nice to be able to walk away from the TV in the 4th quarter and not have to worry about, oh, wow, they're not winning anymore. That's been the case throughout the season so far. So,
Zach Ranitzky, your thoughts?
My favorite observation of the game was the 4 turnovers, because in their game against the Jets that they won, they had 4 turnovers, got the W. This game, 4 turnovers, got the W.
4 is the magic number.
And those turnovers led to like 17 or 19 points or something like that. So that's great.
Yeah, absolutely, it's great. Again, like you guys said, a win is a win is a win. And Zach, we'll start with you on this point. Like Fleet mentioned, the Saints are not the Saints they once were. They are not the Saints that won the Super Bowl against the Colts a few years back. Obviously, Drew Brees and Sean Payton are still there, but pretty much the rest of the team is either not what they once were or just new members and they haven't been able to gel. So, Zach, I'll start with you. Was this the Eagles winning the game or was this more the Saints losing the game?
I'd like to think it was the Eagles winning the game because, it's not the Saints from before, but it's still football. You got to go out there, give it 100%, 110% no matter who you're playing. So I'd have to go with it was the Eagles winning the game. And they won 39-17, so they showed up.
Jordan?
I would have to say it was the Eagles winning the game for sure. I think they outclassed New Orleans for the most part. I didn't expect for them to come away with that many points, but they forced turnovers, they scored points, and really they left a lot of points on the board, to be quite frank. So I would have to say it's the Eagles winning the game, and Sam Bradford got it together pretty well. I think when he threw the 2 picks in the red zone, usually you don't get away with that against a good team. but I think the Eagles played so well in other areas that they were able to get away with a lot that they might not get away with against other teams. So,
Anthony Fleet?
Yeah, I'll lean toward the Eagles winning the game as well. As Jordan, he kind of touched on it. Sam Bradford, his 2 interceptions in the red zone, in the end zone, are inexcusable. You can't make mistakes like that. But they were able to rebound from that and force some turnovers as well. And they eventually got their offense going. But again, when they want to be successful against better teams moving forward, they need to cut it out with the slow starts. They need to really lower it with the turnovers and really start to show an efficient offense from the first quarter.
All right, and now kind of somewhat hinting at this week, of course, the Eagles have the Giants Monday Night Football this week. But Connor Barwin in the media this week, he came out and said if the Eagles can't beat the Giants this week, of course, right now the Giants are leading the NFC East. If they can't beat the Giants this week, then this win, as big as it was and as big of a statement game as it was against the Saints, it was pointless. Anthony, do you agree with that, and why?
Yes, I agree with it because they're already 0-2 in the division. So they can't afford to keep losing these divisional games. One of their 2 victories were against an AFC team, so that means they only have 1 NFC game. So you have to win games in the division, you have to win games in the conference because these are the most important games, and these are the games down the line that could have tiebreaker implications. So you need to have as big an advantage as you can.
Jordan?
Teams that don't have win streaks, they typically pick in like the top 15 in the draft. So if the Eagles want to go where they wanted to go prior to the season and all this hype was going on, they need to string together wins. They're already dug themselves in the hole, and I think they know that. Their record in the division right now isn't good, but they still have a chance due to Dallas's injuries, the Redskins not being very good either. But I think whoever wins this game has a very good chance to come away with the division.
I think the division's up for grabs for any of the 4 teams at this point. But Zach, what do you think?
As Fleet kind of said, division games are very important. And they're already 0-2. They lost to the Redskins. They lost to the Cowboys. And, Philadelphia kind of expected them to beat the Redskins, and they didn't. And so if you're going to lose to the Redskins, Cowboys, and Giants 0-3 in the division, you kind of have to look at yourself and say, can we win any division games?
That's a good point. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with Barwin's statement, too, that you've got to be able to beat the Giants, especially on a national stage, too. To amp a division game is important no matter what time of day they play, but Monday Night Football, that means just more national attention. So, yeah, you've got to make that statement. But speaking of making a statement, our player of the week made a great statement this week. Fletcher Cox, 6 tackles, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, and, of course, named NFC Defensive Player of the Week. He had a sweet sack dance as well. I don't know if you guys saw it. I'm not going to reenact it because, I can't dance. But so, Fleet, we'll start with you. Fletcher Cox has been promising for the Eagles for the past few years now, but this is easily his coming out party to the national stage, right?
Absolutely, and I'm sure he's still ticked off about the fact that he didn't make the Pro Bowl last season, so he really wants to get to the Pro Bowl, and he's going to play at that Pro Bowl level as every game, week in, week out, and he shows that consistent effort. And when you're able to see the results on the stat sheet, such as the forced fumbles and fumble recoveries, that really speaks to how well he plays, because every week he plays that well. It's just sometimes it's not reflected in the stat sheet because he's a defensive lineman, and they don't record stats such as, getting into the backfield but not quite sacking the quarterback. So
right.
When Fletcher Cox is able to keep sustaining pressure on the opposing quarterback, that really benefits the Eagles' defense. And hopefully that can get them off the field sooner rather than, being on the field for 40 minutes plus.
Jordan?
They better pay that man, because as time goes on, he's not going to be any cheaper to afford. Fletcher Cox is a dominant player, and he's by far the player that teams game planning against the Eagles have probably the most trouble game planning for. He keeps the most coaches up at night. And the crazy thing is that he's a 5 technique player in a 3-4 system, and those type of players don't normally put up numbers, but the fact that he's having the impact that he's having is just remarkable, really. And this was his coming out party. He's been a great player for a while, but I think he's starting to get the numbers to back it up, so people on the national stage are kind of seeing for themselves as well. So it was good to see.
Zach, your thoughts on Fletcher Cox?
Well, first I might have to go on YouTube and see if I could find this dance, because I did not personally see it. But yeah, my thoughts on Fletcher Cox. I'm excited to see that a defenseman's the player of the week on your show, because it might be the first time this. I think it's the first time this season a defensive player is the player of the week on your show, so I'm excited to see that, because defense first. And so, I mean, he showed up to the game, he performed, He's one of the biggest reasons the Flyers. I said Flyers. He's one of the biggest reasons
We're getting there,
the
Zach.
Eagles
We're getting
won.
there.
So yeah.
Don't worry, Zach. Hockey talk
I'd
is
like to
coming
see him
up,
as a
man.
defenseman on the Flyers, though. He'd probably knock somebody out.
That would. Oh my God! Put that man on skates.
He's a good enough athlete to do it, but
Yeah.
Can he skate?
Eagles. I know the
I
difference.
Fletcher Cox.
Anyway, I'm trying to recover a little bit there. Fleet, you mentioned the Pro Bowl. I want to talk to you about that a little bit because I get that the Pro Bowl is kind of the measuring stick of yeah, these are the best guys in the NFL, but we know what the Pro Bowl is. It's an exhibition game where the players just goof around for a couple hours. Is that really the bar he should be reaching for? I mean, I'd say all pro, if anything.
Right. Well, of course, he would tell you himself that the ultimate goal for him is to win a Super Bowl for the Eagles.
Yep.
But it's still a matter of just pride and just being able to be among the best players in the National Football League when you get named to a Pro Bowl. So I think that's why a lot of people want to at least be mentioned, at least get voted into the game because they feel as though they're the best when you're in that upper echelon class of people at your position. So when he sees certain guys get elected to the Pro Bowl that he may think he's better than, then of course he's going to be upset and say, man, I should have made that. Just because he's a professional athlete, he has some pride. He's very competitive and he wants to be known as the best, which is a very good thing.
Hey, that's a very good point. And speaking of I guess wanting to become the best, the running game was in question for the past couple weeks. But now let's take a look at how the running game fared last week, mainly between DeMarco Murray and Ryan Matthews. And as you can see there, not bad. Ryan Matthews, 8 carries, 73 yards, and a touchdown. DeMarco Murray, 20 carries, getting the ball more like he asked, 83 yards, and a touchdown. Interesting to note there that DeMarco has significantly more carries than Matthews, yet Matthews has the same amount of production. Fleet, is it time to not get worried, but maybe start to kind of second guess DeMarco Murray a little bit? I mean, I think he played well. He's playing a lot better, but I mean, it's interesting that Ryan Matthews gets less carries, almost a third of his carries, and he has about the same amount of production.
Right, Tyler, it's really interesting, and this is an ongoing debate on whether DeMarco Murray should retain his starting position as running back. Personally, I'd say, just kind of slow down a little bit. Maybe we don't want to put Ryan Matthews in such a high pedestal because he's getting limited carries. And in the past, when Ryan Matthews was the guy, he was susceptible to injuries and he was susceptible to fumbles. But as far as DeMarco Murray, you have to realize the workload that he had last season. And so, of course, he may still be feeling some effects about that, whether he wants to admit it or not. He probably is. And, it's hard, especially when the Eagles' offense are not able to get any sustained blocking going for him. And there's constantly defenders in the backfield when he gets the ball, as we've mentioned in previous shows. So I would say give DeMarco Murray his touches like he's demanding. You saw this week his production has started to go up. So maybe if he consistently gets more touches, maybe his play will start to escalate to where it was last season.
Jordan?
Yeah, I think you have to see it out with these two. They're both obviously very talented. They both made Pro Bowls. Both very productive in college. So they both have, very good-looking resumes at their, But, I mean, Ryan Matthews might be a better system fit to this point. I think he turns the corner a little bit faster than Murray can. But I'm not ready to say he's a better player. DeMarco Murray was the rushing leader last year for a reason, had almost 2,000 yards. I think it comes down to the blocking. Every time I see Murray get the ball, he's hitting the backfield. So, I think it's just something to the play call. I don't think the plays that's drawn up for the two running backs, I don't think they should be the same because they don't run quite the same. They're not the same player. They're both good players, but they have their strengths and weaknesses. I think running from under center helped Murray quite a bit last year.
It's a tricky thing, but real quick, before we get into our prediction poll, I want to talk about the quarterback, Sam Bradford. We'll see his stats, and we'll go over them. 32 for 45, 333 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, but of course, those 2 end zone interceptions, and 88.5 quarterback rating. But you see that note on the bottom, shower speech to motivate the offense. Of course, word got out about this from Lane Johnson to the media this week, that before the game in the showers, Sam Bradford got the offense around and gave him a pep talk in the shower. So, as awkward of a headline as this may be, Anthony Fleet, I guess we'll start with you. Shower speech, big deal or no big deal?
It's not really a big deal. I mean, teammates, I'm sure they communicate in the shower. I'm sure it's nothing to really go crazy over.
No.
I mean, they had a good game as a result, so maybe keep doing it, I guess.
Maybe, why not? Jordan?
I didn't know what to make of this, to be very honest with you. I need some clarification on exactly how this transpired. But we do know Bradford, he threw those 2 picks in the red zone to kind of start out. And that, I think you need to, show with your play a little bit better. He did come around and he did end up with the victory. That's all that matters. I think that's what he was saying. Like, no matter what mistakes you make, keep playing, keep, going through it. I just kind of hoped he wasn't the main guy making mistakes. So
yeah,
I'm not touching that one.
they are what they are. And
Right.
Zach, real quick, your thoughts on Sam Bradford, motivator?
All right. Well, whether it's on a bench or in a shower, I guess it's not that big of a deal where you motivate. But hopefully he gets motivated to not throw an interception, since he's thrown at least 1 interception in every game except 1. So
Yeah. Hey, I mean, Sam Bradford, maybe one day he'll put together the full 60 minutes. But, I mean, we are all saying this, but he knows it more than anyone himself. And I'm sure he's putting the pressure on himself just like the media is putting pressure on him.
Right.
So now let's get into our prediction poll for this week. Of course, Monday Night Football, Eagles-Giants. Last week I picked the Saints and I got it wrong, so I should pick the Eagles, right? Nope. Call it superstition, call it what you will, but I'm going with the Giants this week. You can't take a division game for granted. 2014 is your final, and I have Odell Beckham Jr. as my MVP. I know he's been battling injury, but still, that guy is explosive. And if he's at least thinking that he's 100% and he goes out and just plays out of his mind, the Eagles secondary, if they make a mistake or two, they could be burned, and they could be burned easy. So Fleet, you picked the Birds 31-27, excuse me. And Ryan Matthews is your MVP. We just had a discussion about him.
Right. Remember last season when the Giants and Eagles faced at night here in South Philly?
Black Sunday.
It was a Black Sunday, and the Eagles came out and destroyed the Giants 27-0. I don't expect that to happen this year, but I still expect to win because, as you mentioned, Odell Beckham Jr., he's battling some injuries, but nonetheless, I think the Eagles will be able to have the final say in the shootout, 31-27.
Jordan, real quick, Eagles winning 24-20, and DeMarco Murray is your MVP.
Right. He's killing me in fantasy, but I think he's going to get it going. Hopefully, if they get in the red zone, they could block for him, get him going. I think he's a guy that gets stronger as the game goes on. The more you feed him, the better he plays. I think he'll fare well on Monday.
All right, and Zach, thanks for not making me stay alone this week. You picked the Giants 27-17, and you have Larry Donald, who, of course, caught the game-winning TD for them last week as your MVP. Real quick.
Yep. Well, I have Larry Donald because he had that big game-winning catch last week, and now he's going to get motivated, speaking of motivation, that this is a division game, so he's going to want to show up for all 4 quarters.
All right, and that, hey, I asked for quick, I got quick. All right, there you go. So we'll join on you, not next week because we have the week off, but then the week after we'll join you, and we'll see where the Eagles are at that point. But now we talk hockey because we have regular season hockey to talk about. The Flyers kicking off their season this past week, and on Monday night they actually had their home opener, and I was there, so they were able to pick up a 1-0 win after a terrible loss to the Panthers on Saturday. They got their revenge on Monday night. Let's see some of the clips I got from after the game.
It's always nice to contribute in a win. I think that's the main thing. I thought we played hard, we shut things down when we needed to, and it's a big step for us going forward.
I mean, I'm not looking for offense right away. I think it's if you play good defense, it's your chances are going to come. And one guy I used to look up to when he played PK was Mike Richards. He played good defense, so that's how he would get his chances. And I think it's important that your mindset's defense first, and then if you get a 2-on-1 or something, you can take the chance.
Yeah, that's been everyone all year. We need consistent hockey, else you don't win in this league. You don't make the playoffs. Teams are too good. Everyone beats everyone. So you got to bring your A game every night, or at least your compete and your effort to be successful. And like I said, we're looking for another solid game against Chicago here. Obviously, no Stanley Cup champions. It's not going to be an easy game. So we've got to be ready to play next game.
No, winning is what we're here for, and it took us 3 games, but we've really liked our performance 2 out of the 3 games. Like I said before, we got ourselves in such a deep hole early on Saturday night. It was really hard to evaluate our performance, but it's one win. It pushes us in the right direction. It's back to work tomorrow.
All right, so there you have it. The Flyers obviously happy with themselves after a tough 1-0 win this past Monday night against the against the Florida Panthers, kicking off their home opener. And then also this past week, they were able to defeat the Chicago Blackhawks 3-0 at home. Obviously, a big win over the defending Stanley Cup champions. But let's take a look at the man who really helped guide this performance in the past couple performances, Michael Neuvirth. Always a tough name for me to say. Michael Neuvirth, as you can see there, 61 saves on 61 shots in his first 2 starts with the Flyers. Signed a 2-year deal with the Flyers in the offseason to become the new backup. But of course, guys, I'm sure you all know the story, but Steve Mason had a personal issue with his family, so he took a leave of absence from the team. So Neuvirth gets thrown into the starting situation, and he thrived. He clearly thrived. So Anthony, we're starting with you. Again, the guy was signed to be the backup. He's still young, but a 2-year deal. So how huge is this for him to come in and get shutouts against not only the Florida Panthers, but the defending Stanley Cup champions?
Yeah, it's really big, and of course, it wouldn't be a Flyer season if there wasn't goalie controversy. There seems to be a recurring theme for the Flyers every single year. There always seems to be 2 goalies that may be good enough to start. And
it's the same thing with quarterbacks for the Eagles.
Right, absolutely, and it's kind of like, if you don't have one goalie, you don't have any. That's usually the same thing with quarterbacks. But the Flyers, they always seem to struggle with finding a consistent goaltender, and everybody thought it was going to be Steve Mason, but for some reason he always seems to be unavailable, whether it be through injury or some of these personal matters, which you can sympathize with. You can understand he has some personal business to take care of. But for Michael Neuvirth, the backup, to be able to come in and get back-to-back shutouts, as you mentioned, that's really big, especially when Steve Mason eventually comes back and he's able to perform at his peak level, as we all expect.
Yep, Zach, real quick, I know you've been waiting on Flyers talk. Your thoughts on Michael Neuvirth?
Neuvirth, well, I'm just glad that he got those 2 shutouts because I don't know too much about him, but now that he's on the Flyers, I'm going to be paying a little bit more attention. And all right, so 2 shutouts, I like that. And defense first in any sport. I probably already said that with the Eagles. Defense first.
It's okay.
And Drew even actually said after the 1-0 win against the Panthers, if your defense is going to perform, it's going to give you more 2-on-1 opportunities or just scoring chances in general. And if you capitalize, then that one capitalization is going to win you the game if your defense is playing good.
Yeah, I mean, he was talking about the penalty kill there because Drew was actually seeing a lot of minutes on the penalty kill, and they were playing well. They were playing very well. They had an ugly 4-minute penalty in the first couple minutes of the game that they killed off, but once they killed that off, they had energy. Real quick, we want to talk about Sam Gagner, too, who they got in just a trade to clear cap space, but he's been doing well, a goal and an assist in his first 2 games. Zach, real quick, your thoughts on Sam Gagner, who, again, Ron Hextall didn't necessarily love Sam Gagner and have to trade for him, but you got him, and, hey, he's producing now. So talk about his impact.
I mean, can't look at the statistics since we're a couple games into the season, but he's got a goal and assist, and his plus-minus is +1. If you have a positive plus-minus, that's always a good thing. You can't complain. And then I think Gagner is going to be, Sam Gagner. I think he's going to, because you don't want to get the Gagners mixed.
Even though one's retired,
So Sam Gagner is going to be that player that's looking to get a fresh start, and he wants to impress his new team. So look out for that, because that's going to be a key factor in the Flyers' success.
Jordan, real quick, your thoughts on Sam Gagner?
I like it. The more help Giroux has moving forward, the better. I think this team has trouble generating offense, and I think they can get very dependent on Giroux. So I think someone else who can kind of pass and facilitate a little bit will really help them moving forward.
All right, and that'll do it for Flyers Talk. We will keep a close eye on the orange and black moving forward. And this would normally be the part of the show where we do the Fast Five, but that is not the case this week because for those of you who watched Sportsline last week, a certain someone decided to throw a challenge my way. Let's take a look at it.
Real quick before we go, I have a bit of a presentation / proposal. We're going to go to camera 1. This is addressed to fellow senior LaSalle TV producer and talk show host Tyler Harper. Tyler, we're about to get out of this place now. It's getting pretty close. The walls are closing in. So I figured a good gift to give to Miss Tanya Ellis and the LaSalle TV crew would be a bit of a show swap. I'm proposing that I take over Sports Talk Philadelphia, you come over and host Sportsline. There's Tyler right there. There he is, beautiful man. I'm waiting for a response. I would love to hear what you have to say about it. Hopefully he'll get back to me, Anna, next week, maybe on a show next week. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, we'll see, Mr. Rickney. We will see. Because in the words of Barney Stinson, Challenge accepted. You take over Sports Talk for a week, I go over and take over Sportsline for a week. It is that simple. But see, Mr. Rickney, you put up a funny picture. You expect it to get some laughs. Two could play that game, sir. Can we see? I've made a little something there. There we go. Not sure if Brendan Rickney or Mr. Jim Halpert from Dunder Mifflin Paper Company.
Oh, that's good.
It's uncanny. It's the exact same expression. It really is. Of course, Brendan hears about that a lot. But nevertheless, the show swap is on. So we are going to set up a date and time with that. And when we do, it is going to go down. It is going to go down. And yeah, that's all the trash talk I got for this. But I will not look silly on Sportsline, at least I hope. So it'll be a fun time, and it'll be a nice, friendly little competition. So there you have it, folks. Something to look forward to on LaSalle TV. Me running Sportsline, Brendan running Sports Talk. All right, so that'll do it for this week. But of course, you can check us out on social media. You can see us on Facebook.com/SportsTalkPhiladelphia. On Twitter, you could hit up at LaSalle TV Philly. LaSalleTV@LaSalle.edu is the email. Full episodes up on YouTube, YouTube.com/LaSalle56TV. And of course, find us on the web, LaSalle.edu/LaSalleTV. Thank you to Anthony, thank you to Jordan, and thank you to Zach for joining me on the panel today. And thank you to you all watching at home. Again, like I said, we are off next week, but the week after, we will be right back here giving you more Philly sports highlights. So don't go anywhere. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you next time.